Hello everyone, welcome to Drishti IAS. As you might be aware that the Trump administration had recently announced a fee hike on the H1B visas. And in this video, we will be analyzing the impact of this decision on Indians, Americans, as well as the rest of the world. So let's get started. A couple of days ago, a notification came in where the Trump administration decided to increase the fee, the registration fee for H1B visas from the existing $10,000 to $100,000. Now, this is a huge jump from $10,000 to $100,000. It's a huge hike, and this is going to be applicable only on new visas, new visa applications, not on renewal of old or existing visa. It is only going to be applicable for the registration of new H1B visas. Now, before we understand what its impact is going to be on Indians, let us quickly recall what H1B visa is. We will not dive into a lot of details because we've already covered it in a detailed video. The link to that video will be available in the I button. Please go and check it out. So H1B visas are basically non-immigrant visas which allow the employers in the US to hire global talent in specialty occupations. What do you mean by specialty occupations? The STEM occupations. Science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, and Indians are known to excel in the STEM disciplines. So this basically, the H1B visa, it allows these people, these employers in the US to get global talent across these disciplines. That is why H1B visas is one of the most attractive visas in the world. People seek after this visa and they want to move to the US with this visa category. So any hike, any change basically in H1B visas is especially going to have an impact on the Indians. Why? Because 70% of the beneficiaries of this visa are Indians. So anything, any news that comes around for H1B visa, like a price hike, a registration fee hike, or the revamping of the selection system, anything basically is going to have a huge impact on Indians. So now let us understand what this impact is going to be. Firstly, this is definitely a discouraging news. Why? Because these people, they will have to bear the increased fee. Because think of these sponsor companies. The sponsor companies might not pay the entire fee on their own. They might just start charging their clients more. They might just start charging these people more. So ultimately, the burden is going to be borne by these people. So this becomes discouraging. So now people might start looking for alternative destinations. Alternative destinations like other countries like Canada, like Germany, France, Spain, Australia, any other European country, basically any country which has a predictable visa application process or a predictable regime. Because what is happening with the Trump administration at the moment, it is very, very unpredictable. Sometimes we see a news of the upheaval of complete H1B visa system. Then we see this increased registration fee. So things are very unpredictable because the government there is wanting to protect Americans, but while doing that, it is actually hampering the global talent. So that is why people now want to look for predictability, because you have to plan a future and it cannot be done on unpredictable terms. That is why people might now start looking for alternative destinations. And the students specifically who are already studying there, the graduates basically who are already studying there, they might have applied for something which is known as the OPT, which is optional practical training. Optional practical training. This OPT basically allows students or the graduates who are already studying there to get an exposure, a hands-on exposure for 12 to 36 months. They can work in the US for 12 to 36 months under this OPT. Post-OPT, post the completion of this 12 to 36 months, they'll have to apply for an H1B visa. So think of those students. The students have already applied for an OPT, or the students are already working under OPT and they were thinking of applying for an H1B visa after the completion of this term. They will also have to bear this increased fee, and this will again going to be discouraging for them as well, because this is a huge amount. But can this benefit anybody? So a slight benefit can come in for the people who are already in the US, who are already holding the H1B visas and who had been laid off this year. So this might come as an immediate relief to those people, because now this off-site hiring might happen where these employers, instead of sending people from India to the US, they might just start hiring people from the US, Indians from the US. So all these Indians who had been laid off this year and who already have a valid H1B visa, they might benefit from this. So a slight population might benefit from this, but the larger group of Indians is actually going to be discouraged and demotivated from entering into the US because of its unpredictability and increased fee for H1B visas. And what is going to be the impact on the US? The US is also going to see short-term and long-term impacts. First and foremost, what is the reason behind doing this? The reason basically is to protect the Americans. The Trump administration has cited this reason that it wants to protect its citizens. It does not want the American people to lose out their jobs to people who are coming from the outside. So it wants to protect them. But in the long run, this can kill innovation. Because think of the startups who have just begun. Think of the startups who start in garages. So these startups, they will be demotivated because they do not have this amount of money. If they want to enter the US market, they do not have $100,000 to do that. So they'll be discouraged. They will not be able to enter the US market. So in the long term, this innovation is going to be killed, because now only the people who have this huge amount of money will be able to enter the US and work. And all these big startups like Apple, Google, Microsoft, all these big companies, they were earlier startups, and these startups, they were in garages. So that time also, if these people, they benefited from the different visa schemes, they could move to different countries, and they could basically also get people from outside. All these big giants, these tech giants, they're going to get people from outside, people from India, because Indians excel in the STEM discipline. And earlier they used to get benefit from this H1B visa with the predictability of the visas. But right now, with this unpredictability, they will not be able to get talent from the outside. They'll not be able to get talent from India, from China, or from other developing nations. So these companies are also going to suffer. The innovation is also going to suffer in the long term. And in the short term, the Americans might benefit, but in the long term, they are going to miss out on global talent. But for India, one good thing can happen, that we can basically contain our brain drain only if we are able to provide a proper ecosystem to these people. So instead of these people moving out to other countries or looking for alternative destinations, if we are able to provide them a proper growing ecosystem with competitive salaries, competitive wages and everything, proper lifestyle, they might just be motivated enough to stay in India and work here. So we can take advantage from this entire thing and stop the brain drain. But for America, in the long run, it is going to kill innovation. This is what the experts believe at the moment. And what is going to be the impact of this for rest of the world? So rest of the world also, because this price hike is for everybody, but because we are 70% of the beneficiaries, like Indians make up 70% of the beneficiaries, it is going to impact us the most. But the rest of the world also, like France, Germany, Spain, Canada, all these countries are basically opening up their markets, opening up their companies, opening up their countries to people from outside, especially from India, because now they have an opportunity to invite global talent, to invite talent from India, and in the long run, they are going to benefit from the innovation that these people will bring with them. The same example of startups that I gave you, all these big tech giants, they were once startups, and if now these new startups, if they enter these countries instead of going to the US, in the long term, these countries are going to get a lot of profit. So these countries are now wanting to set up a predictable, a proper visa application regime or a visa selection regime, so that they can establish themselves as attractive destinations for working. So that was all for today's video. The impact on Indians right now is not going to be very good, but in the long term, this might be a small hit. Why? Because first of all, these sponsor companies, they are not going to bear all the cost on their own. They are going to delegate it to the clients. But because of this unpredictability, a lot of these companies, or a lot of the Indians were actually now started looking, they had already started looking for alternative destinations. So the amount of visa applications had already decreased. H1B visas were already on the decline. So this might come in as a small hit. And all these sponsor companies that we're talking about, these are huge tech giants. They have a very high profit margin. Right now they are in a position to sustain this thing because they are going to delegate the cost to their clients. So this might be a small hit for the companies, for the tech giants, but for Indians, or but for the people who are going to pay that fee, this is going to be a discouraging move. So that was all for today's video. I hope you understood what we discussed. Now let us practice a question for prelims. The recently announced $100,000 H1B visa fee by the United States applies to which of the following? Renewal of existing H1B visas, new H1B visa petitions or applications, all non-immigrant work visas, only student visa holders applying for work permits. Select the correct answer. Please provide your answers in the comment section and we will meet in a new video.
For more informative content, like, share and subscribe, and do not forget to press the bell icon to get the notifications.